Florida State is at home. Mike Norvell would love to have a win. They've got a better quarterback situation with Thomas Castellanos. They've got 2 new coordinators down there in Tallahassee. And guess what? I don't care. Alabama wins and covers. Brian Smith of Locked On Seminoles is here. 13.5 is the point spread according to our friends at FanDuel. Brian, are you going to try and talk me out of my confidence in Alabama's ability to just crush Florida State here? Because I'm further down on the Seminoles than the odds market.
I don't think I'm against you given the points, but I think it'll be close for a while. But Florida State is trying to change their culture and display the right players. That is not a fast process, and it's not one that's usually lucrative against the Tide. So long-term, good move. Short-term, probably not. It's kind of like hitting a pitching wedge off the tee. So it's just not good.
I mean, it's safe. You know, if I hit pitching wedge off every tee, Actually, that's not true. I play from the back tee, so I actually miss a decent number of fairways because it's more than 140 yards away to reach the fairway sometimes. But I get the point that you're making. You wouldn't miss very many fairways if you hit an iron off the tee and, you know, pitching wedge from the red tees. Yeah, that's but, you know, to build the confidence, to get things going in the right direction, that can be the correct move on the golf course. Love the golf analogy there from you. But let's get further into this game. Alabama, I think their defensive talent is pretty underrated. I think their offensive talent is well established. We just have one real question, and that's Ty Simpson, who is going to be Alabama's starting quarterback in the game. I love that Ryan Grubb is back for the Crimson Tide. I think, oddly enough, Alabama is one of the more underrated, under-discussed teams of the offseason leading into this year, which is strange to say, but I think it is also fair that they're the preseason number 8 or 9 team and not inside the top 5 because they were 9-4 last year. And also, we've barely seen Ty Simpson play, and what we have seen hasn't really been that good. So give me the Florida State perspective on how confident you are the Seminoles' new defensive staff with Coach White and everybody can slow him down.
I think that they can do that. They did a really good job last year at Nebraska. They held Ohio State to like 80 yards rushing or something like that. So they've got a very good defensive staff. They got Darrell Jackson Jr. at nose guard. He'll be probably a pretty high pick. They've got a few guys in the secondary like Earl Little Jr. that are good. But like on the edge, they've got not one but like 2 inside linebackers they've moved to pass rusher. And I'm just like, I'm not sure that – I'm not kidding. Like it's – they're
just out of necessity?
They don't have a pure edge for this. Now, when I saw that, I mean, the red flag wasn't lifted. It was catapulted to the moon. So, like, I know that they're frustrated with some players, and they're trying. Again, this is a culture move. Short-term loss, long-term gain. I get it. But Alabama is the other team for this week, and that's the only objective to discuss today. That's not going to work against Caden Proctor. It's not. It's going to be 3rd down and 2 all day, and against a loaded room of running backs, a couple of NFL linemen, minimum, probably 3, and Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, and just a cast of characters coming off the bench. Got a lot of receivers. I think they're going to put Florida State on skates by the middle of the 3rd quarter, and they'll just slowly pull away. I think 2 touchdowns was about the right margin for the point spread, and I'm not talking anybody off that wedge. You know, like now Florida State fans they just want to get the bad taste of last year out of their mouth, and I think they'll play way better, but they're just playing the wrong team. Yeah, I like Alabama quite a bit in this game.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, that has to be discussed with this matchup, Kalen DeBoer can't have a stumble.
No, he cannot.
Mike Norvell, I think, should be given some grace because, you know, he's locked in with a contract, so you couldn't fire him after last year. It was just one bad year. But you got to start back down at ground zero, grow it up from the roots. Okay, we get that with Florida State. Kalen DeBoer has to make the playoff this year, or 2026 is going to be playoff or you're fired. And if you go on the road where you're a 2-touchdown favorite, justifiably so, with the roster gaps that I think exist between these two teams, and you've got your coordinators back, you know, Ryan Grubb returning and Kane Womack still there as defensive coordinator, I think that this needs to be a game where Kalen DeBoer looks up and goes, yeah, we're not sweating here in the 4th. Like last year against Wisconsin, they was it 42-10, or it was something like that. I'll look at it. It needs to be that for the Crimson Tide.
Why wouldn't it be? Florida State, 9 of their 11 offensive starters, I believe, will be transfers. It's a lot of parts trying to work together. And you got 2 new coordinators. You got 2 new line coaches. You've got a transfer quarterback. And you're playing Bama? Like, those are just not the right measurements. And I know stranger things have happened, and that's why you and I say continually college football is the greatest sport on earth. But does it make you feel warm and fuzzy playing the Tide? No. So Alabama should be able, barring just turning the ball over and just disastrous special teams, if they're not up by 10 by middle of the second quarter, I'd be a little ticked if I was their staff. Now, they may not admit it that publicly, but they know they're a lot better. Florida State knows they're a lot better too. If you go watch Norvell's press conference, we're just worried about us. All those comments, he just stayed away from. It was well done, but I'm not a fool either. He knows what he's doing. They don't have anywhere near the roster that Alabama does. They don't. So they've got to find a way to win the turnover battle by at minimum 2. That's hard.
Yeah.
Minimum 2.
When a coach goes to the podium, is asked about the other team, and doesn't want to talk about them, that is code for, we just want to find something good to take into next week to more winnable games. Bama is an SEC and national title contender. Florida State, I think, would be happy to make a bowl game this year. That'd be a tremendous success, in my view. I don't think they're actually doing that, by the way, because I'm pretty down on them. They're not recruiting the high school ranks the way that I think they should. It hasn't been all bad, but it's just I don't know. I've got questions after they were literally the worst preseason top 10 team in the history of college football. But the interesting thing about this game, Brian, is Ty Simpson's going to be under a microscope, a big microscope here. They're not going to lean on the running game. That's not what Kalen DeBoer likes to do. That's not what Ryan Grubb likes to do. If you want to have one knock on Ryan Grubb as an OC, he's never constructed a truly elite run game or even a super balanced offense. They run enough, to keep a defense honest, but they're all about the passing game. The weapons are there. The offensive line is going to be there. If Ty Simpson looks bad in this game when he's going into his 4th year of college football, there are going to be some serious questions about the guy that's trying to lead Alabama to the promised land.
I think that he's a really good coordinator, but I don't know anything about Ty Simpson because he's never been in a meaningful snap as far as I'm concerned. So now he's the guy, and we have no idea if he's not the guy, who even the second player is going to be. You got a true freshman that was an All-American high school player, and another kid.
Keelan Russell, yeah.
And I mean, the other kid's really talented, but he's barely played either, and we don't know much about him. So Ty Simpson's you could argue Ty has as much pressure as any quarterback in the country because you're right. Their roster, if everything fell just right, they could be the national title game. If everything just fell, because Caden Proctor is going to be the first tackle off the board. And that's a great starting point. Quay Russaw, James Smith, they got just Lawson, inside linebacker. They're loaded in the secondary. Oh, yeah, Ryan Williams got. They have all kinds of things going right. But if you're just, Jag plus at quarterback, that's not going to get it done in today's era. You got to score. I'm really anxious to see what he looks like. Florida State will have some guys. James Williams, Joe Jackson Jr. They got a lot of veterans in the front 7. They're going to apply some pressure. How does he handle that? I don't think Florida State's going to beat him, but he's going to get hit. How does he take that? That might be the biggest thing from this game just nationally to look at. But for the Noles, they'll be better, but they're not going to beat Alabama.